Registration, this is really a buried story this week. 30 states allow registration. Well, they have some facts about it now. Democrats have lost 2.1 million people. Republicans have gained 2.4. That is a huge turnaround. That is bad news for the Democrats.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we're seeing right now is nothing short of a political earthquake shaking the Democratic Party to its core. This isn't a minor tremor or a passing ripple, it's a collapse of confidence. Laid bare by the hard numbers spotlighted by Bill Maher and Victor Davis Hanson. The Democrats have lost more than 2 million registered voters, while Republicans have gained more than 2 million of their own. That's not trivia. That's not just a statistic. It's a blaring red warning sign. One party is in retreat, and the other is charging forward with unmistakable momentum.
That is because...
Well, look, I think it's good, and I think for precisely the reasons we're talking about, the Democrats don't have a good message. They were utterly captured by their furthest left radicals. They were pushing COVID lockdowns, critical race theory, DEI, transgender ideology, you name it. And people are sick of it. Your average middle-of-the-road American is worried about a lot of things. And Trump is not perfect. We can all agree on that. But at least,
we can all agree.
But at least
no one is.
He's tapping into, and you could mock his style, and it is funny. The Newsom tweets are funny. But what they're missing is that underneath all of the bluster, the bravado, the orange makeup, he is actually tapping into real fears, anxieties, and even hopes. It may sound ridiculous to people in Los Angeles or Washington, D.C., but that's why he has passionate supporters. That's why you're seeing Republicans expanding the playing field. And that's why you see in a state like Florida, where, it just went gangbusters the last 5 years. People are fleeing from the kind of empty ideologies of people like Kamala Harris. And love him or hate him, they're saying that Trump, at the very least, cares about what we're thinking about.
This isn't just about voter rolls, it's a wake-up call. These numbers aren't lines on a spreadsheet. They're a cultural alarm bell ringing across America. People are fed up with empty slogans, reckless experiments, and leaders who turn a blind eye to everyday struggles. Common sense is finally breaking through the fog of propaganda. When streets feel less safe, when inflation drains every paycheck, and when disorder becomes the new normal, people start asking tough questions. And when those questions go unanswered, they don't hesitate to walk away. Maher and Hanson drive the point home with brutal clarity. Democrats abandon the bread-and-butter concerns that bind communities together, while Republicans keep hammering practical, relatable, and grounded themes that resonate.
Breathing into a paper bag. I'm trying to calm down a little bit, but John just quoted a remarkable stat out of the New York Times that in the 30 states where they track voter registration over the past 4 years, Democrats have lost to Republicans in every single state. Why?
So this is the $24 million question, right? Why are Democrats not, why are the polls bad? Why are they not breaking through? And I think it's a couple things. I think one is the people who are breaking through are brave. Right? They talk like humans. They make the case, and again, it's like Pritzker's chief of staff told me. It's not necessarily left versus center. It's fight versus cave. And the people who fight get support. And the people who cave or are mealy-mouthed or are, very sort of corporatist-y, that crew, the crew that's afraid, cannot break through, does not appeal.
The exchange between Bill Maher and Victor Davis Hanson cuts straight to the heart of the problem. Democrats are losing their grip because they've chained themselves to radical stances that push the working class awaiting ideology over paychecks, slogans over schools, and posturing over jobs. Instead of focusing on wages, education, and opportunity, they doubled down on cultural battlegrounds like critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those buzzwords might win applause in lecture halls and elite campuses, but they collapse at the kitchen table. Maher underscores how these misplaced priorities make Democrats look detached from reality. Hanson takes it even further, arguing that the party has surrendered itself to far-left factions, dragged deeper into extremes, and further from the real concerns of everyday Americans.
After the defeat of Kamala Harris in November 2024, the Democrats decided recently to run an autopsy, a discovery, so to speak, of why they lost that election. These autopsies are not uncommon for the losing political party, but they only tend to work if you're honest and you try to analyze every considerable factor or criterion without censorship or without fear. In the case of the Democrats, though, there are certain elements of that campaign that were obviously wrong and contributed to their defeat. So we would expect the following. Why was Joe Biden nominated in the first place? He seemed to, after the South Carolina primary of 2020, kind of be coronated. He had lost New Hampshire, he had lost Iowa, and then the party bosses came in and said, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, these people are too radical, we'll get old Joe Biden from Scranton, even though he's not alert. And then when he was president, they kind of created a cabal, didn't they, that hid his dementia. And then when he was no longer useful and could not, serve as a waxen effigy for a radical agenda under his name or his auto pen, then they dumped him. And yet, at that point, they should have had an open convention. But they didn't. They anointed Kamala Harris, who had been a candidate in 2020, a dismal candidate, and had not won one delegate. She really didn't have a message. She avoided the press. When she did try to speak extemporaneously, it was a word salad, and she was just an unimpressive candidate. Bottom line is, until the Democrats look in the mirror and say, we have a message that nobody wants in the middle class, it's antithetical to the middle class, on crime, on immigration, on energy, on foreign policy, on the economy, they'll never change. They will never change. And they're like addicts. They can't live with DEI, with the Green New Deal, with this utopian globalization, and they can't live without.
The Democratic brand is polluting under the weight of far-left policies. Instead of solving problems, they tighten energy restrictions, drive up family bills, inject radical theories into classrooms, and obsess over cultural battles that don't improve anyone's life. Ordinary Americans are asking blunt questions. What about my paycheck? My community? My family's safety? And Democrats have no good answers. The basics: job security, strong schools, affordability are being ignored. Their messaging feels elitist, detached, and arrogant, like a lecture from a podium. Republicans, by contrast, speak in plain, relatable terms, and that difference has opened the floodgates for GOP gains. Hanson notes that Democrats can't even confront their own failures. They continue to prop up figures like Kamala Harris, who failed to win a single delegate in 2020, yet was pushed forward as the party's future. They deny Joe Biden's visible decline, fueling distrust. Add in climate mandates that punish working families, globalist distractions, and reckless immigration policies that put safety at risk. And you have the perfect storm for alienation. Meanwhile, Republicans have sharpened their message to four cutting words: safety, jobs, affordability, security. That's why Florida turned red. And the trend is spreading not just among older voters, but increasingly among younger voters, especially minority young men who see Democrats fixated on cultural experiments instead of affordable housing, job opportunities, and basic peace of mind. Maher and Hanson deliver the warning bluntly: unless Democrats wake up, tear up their losing playbook, and return to reality. This isn't decline, it's collapse.